Hey everyone, I just want to do a real basic run through in Illustrator. I don't know where you guys are, and it's hard because I can't ask you. You're not in front of me, and normally I would ask the class where they are in terms of their understanding of Illustrator. So we're going to dive right in, and I'm going to show you some of the tools. To start with, I'm going to show you the rectangle because I kind of need a rectangle just to show you these first couple of tools, and I'm not going to show you everything. We're going to be doing more demonstrating in Illustrator. In fact, most of this class, all of this class probably will be done in Illustrator just to keep it simple, and we won't transition to InDesign until later in the semester. All right, so let's talk about this first tool. If you hover over a tool long enough, it will come up with a title that says it's the selection tool, which means that it selects the whole shape. Oops, I didn't actually have it selected. All right, so I can click on it and I can select the whole shape. Now, one of the things before we move on, you can see that this has rounded rectangles. Illustrator likes to duplicate the way you can do things. So in that selection tool, you can see that you have these little white dots. If I click on that little white dot, you can actually round this rectangle. Now, before we move on, this is called the, and I hover over it because they changed the direct selection tool. So that means that I can directly select one point and move that one point. So that's how it's different. This is the whole shape. This is parts. I can actually select two by doing a drag select and select two of those. But one of the things that I want you to notice is if I click on one of these points, I still get this white arrow. So I could actually round only one of the curves here, or I could go to each one of them and round them. So that's kind of fun. So that's the selection tools. Remember, this is for the entire object. This is for points in that object. Before we move on, let's do the lasso tool. I find the lasso tool to be helpful if I wanted to lasso, let's say, these points. So now these are 4 points, so I can affect those 4 points if I did that. Now, that being said, Illustrator allows you to do multiple things multiple ways. So if I click one and hold down Shift, I can actually add points to my selection. And so there's that. So they do the same thing, it just slightly differently. All right, so let's move on to this next tool, which is the pen tool. The pen tool is actually the tool that you will use to draw with. I know these other tools like the paintbrush or the pencil might seem like tools that you would use, but really this is the gold standard. And the reason why is because when you draw, you want to create very specific points, and notice how I'm able to get very sophisticated curves with that. If I were to come in here with the paintbrush tool, I'm not sure why it's giving me no use, but you'll notice that it will clean up my line. Notice how very rough it is over here. Notice what happens. It will fix that. And the line segment tool, this is all stuff that this will do. And I'm really confused about why it's not letting me use this tool. The blob tool, however, oh, maybe it's because I have no color. That is why. So, no. So the blob tool is actually something I'm quite fond of, and the reason why is because when you make these scribble shapes, they become one shape, whereas if I used the paintbrush to do that, I don't know why it's not letting me do it, but it would make all of these lines, which would create this rat nest. Like if I did something like this, it would create this rat nest that would be unprintable. So that's one of the reasons. This is an eraser tool, although I can't tell you how rare it is to use the eraser. I'm going to come here and do just the rectangle tool. We've talked about that. If I do another rectangle and hold down Shift, you'll notice that I get a perfect square. So that's common with all of these. If I hold down Shift, I'm going to get a rounded rectangle. If I don't hold down Shift, I'm going to get a rectangle. If I come to the ellipse tool and click, I'm going to get a oval. If I hold down Shift, I'm going to get a circle. If I come down to the polygon tool, it's going to give me the flat polygon at the top. If I don't, notice that it rotates around. Same thing with the star. The star is going to point up as opposed to not holding down Shift, which the star point will go wherever you need it to. So that kind of covers that. This is the lens flare tool. I would not worry about that right now. It is a tool that I do not recommend for a lot of reasons. It tends to create some cheesiness. All right, so let's get a rectangle in here for these next couple of tools. So this is the rotate tool. And if I click on that, I can rotate. This is the scale tool. So if I click on it and I can scale, keep in mind, if I hold down Shift, it will constrain it to its proportions. And I can also do a reflect here, which we'll talk about later. And then this is free transform, which allows me to rotate and scale. But keep in mind, if I come and hover on the outside, I can scale with my selection tool or rotate with my selection tool. Same thing with that selection tool, I can scale it. And again, I'm holding down Shift. If I don't, it won't scale it in proportion. These tools we're going to talk a lot about later. We're going to talk a little bit about type, and then we'll probably end for the moment. I just wanted to kind of run through tools that you're going to need. So if I click and type, this can go on forever until I hit a hard return. But I can also pull a block of text, and you can see that it gave me a block of text. And so when it gets to that red line over there, it'll do a return. So those are two options. If I select, let's say, text, oops, text, oops, can't type today. So let's come up here and type in Arial, and we'll do large. So you can see all of these things are up here. My favorite font is Frutiger, and Frutiger is my favorite font because look at all of these fonts in this family. So it has a condensed, a light condensed, a condensed, a bold, a black, an extra black, condensed, a light, light italic, Roman. So that becomes very useful to do very different kinds of information within a design. So this is called a font family. They share commonalities, and you can use different weights and italics and condensed fonts to bring emphasis to different kinds of information. That's called visual hierarchy, or the level of importance of text. So the other way you can do that is you can go to Window, down to Type, and do Character. And so this is another option here. All right, I just wanted to keep this really quick because I actually have another 30-minute demo for you guys to watch today that's all about getting started on this project that I think is going to be more helpful. I just wanted to run through some of the more important tools. Thanks.